Hi, Sam Tobert, Sound of Joy Music Services, and this is the recorded version of our series on learning the gospel piano. We're going to look at another song from our list from our opening on yesterday. And we're going to select the song Changed by Walter Hawkins. Came out in 1975. Walter Hawkins was a prominent figure in gospel music during his era, and Changed is one of his most celebrated compositions. Let's go and look at the chord structure and the sound, the gospel sound of his song Changed. Now, I was one of the musicians back in that era when this song came out, and gospel music began to, um, some will say, be elevated into a new sound, but really it was taking the old sound and stripping off some of the real jazzy elements of it, but still resculpting it into a sound where it was of a ballad. Now, Changed was one of those songs, key of A flat, and I'm using the sound natural grand because we didn't have all these keyboards which could morph our sounds to be double layered and give you a whole different effect. So when you first heard the opening song of Changed, it was that iconic opening. Not really what you would expect to hear from a gospel song. So, as musicians of that day, we had to now pin our ears to the actual albums because we didn't have MP3s and WAV files and CDs, even cassettes back then. But it was getting the vinyl album, going to the phonograph player, and aiming the needle over where that song resided. And you had to be careful because if you scratched the album, you basically threw it out and you went and you bought a replacement. B major, G flat major, D flat major. Now you're back in the key of A flat. And the bass, of course, the bottom note, the heaviest note, the lowest note will help to resolve those chords used on the top. Now, I always call this a jazz chord because it's in the sixth, E flat major 6 chord over an A flat. You could consider this another jazz chord because it's not a straight F minor, D major 7th, which is a jazz chord. Another jazz chord. As I said, it didn't leave jazz, but it sort of mellowed it out. Not as harsh. Back to the opening chords. So gospel music is more than just, and I will again I hate to say that I'm throwing shade on another system, but the musicians of that day expanded on what was traditional gospel music. Now that's the 251. 251. To get from A flat to D flat chord wise, because that's where the actual progression of the song is going. Here's the jazz turn. 251. The 2501 again. Again, another variation of the 251. A one. Wonderful change has come over me. So gospel music evolves from whatever precedes it, if that's the correct word. And the musicians, because the generation of the musician coming up is borrowing from what he heard and what he learned from his previous generations. And here now you have a new definition to the term gospel added, contemporary, which again doesn't take away from that sound, but it sort of smooths it out. Now, we're going to cover some other artists. As I was thinking about doing this video, so many other songs from James Cleveland popped into my mind that wasn't on the list that I put together. So I've got to get those in there in these videos like this. So this song, again, being iconic, the Hawkins family were one of the pioneers. They were, and again, pioneers with an S. There are so many more from that era. In fact, I'm going to have to pull out of my storage down here in my studio all the albums of those songs which I was required to learn as a church musician when there was no one with a YouTube video giving me a guide as to the actual progressions used in the song of that day. And I often felt that at one point there was a competition between the gospel songwriters as to who could have the most profound sounding song. So if one guy was using the piano, the next songwriter, gospel artist, would get the same, if not borrow the same musicians, they would have that same sound. So it was a competition back then, a good competition as to who would have the most recognizable song. From this same album, so many songs are iconic. I'm just touching on the one, Changed. I got to be careful how much I play because I've already got my first copyright uh, um, notification on yesterday's stream, which is okay because we're taking care of that. Not a problem there. So let me see how much more I can play of this song and then add a little bit of what I did when I got a chance to play it. Lost the light. And that's it for today's look at the iconic gospel sound and our look at the songs and the writers that made that sound prominent. Thanks for watching, and I will see you as we continue this month long series on learning the gospel piano sound. Take care.